All right, welcome back to another stacked video. We'll be doing the same program review here. Starting here with Jim, or Jimmy Lim. I think the background information here, we have limited context, obviously. The information we have is, this is his off season. Looking at his videos from Instagram, he seems like a taller lifter. He is a 90 to 100 kilo lifter.
Yeah, he wants to be 100.
So he's in between 90 and 100. And we only have 1 week of training here, but it is an off-season type training, which can mean a lot of things for different people. But I guess like generally for him, it sounds like he's trying to build a base, again, contextual base. So we'll talk about like this training and what kind of qualities it can improve, and like what are some things it might be missing. So David, like looking at it, the first thing, like week 1, day 1, anything pops up immediately after, like once you look at it?
Well, first thing I see, you got pause squats and competition squats. Pause squats are meant, of course, to practice your control, practice everything at the bottom, get everything stabilized. We're starting at 365 out of 475, probably around, I think that's like 74, 75%. Of course, week 1 starting simple. I don't really know if how heavy he's going to take that, but you can tell, at least my opinion, what I see that there's not a whole lot of volume on the squats themselves. It makes sense because the priority is kind of in this building phase where maybe we just need some practice and then we just want to go through, I guess, the competition lifts relatively quickly to be able to get over to the more important stuff, which is, the building portion, which comes after. I
guess going over building, like the building phase and like what that can mean, it's like there are different definitions. For us, the building would be kind of working on the qualities that support strength expression.
The thing about that makes a building phase a bit different is you're getting less practice on the competition lifts and you're focusing mostly on that building phase. So you're basically giving up some aspects of it for other aspects that are just more in the building portions. So like I said, the competition lifts are going to remain lighter and or just a bit more, I guess we could call it suppressed. I don't really know how how Jimmy's competition prep looks, but usually what you would want to see is you want to see a bit of a reduction in, either weight or volume, whichever one kind of is what makes you more tired. For some people, intensity really tires them out. For some people, just blistering volume tires them out. So kind of you're intentionally taking away some aspects to really focus on the aspects that you're really trying to lean into.
So the effectiveness of this off season would be dictated through how effective is he at addressing those limiting factors, those bottlenecks to his strength expression, which can be, for some people, is muscle mass. That's like a very common off season quality people work on. And some other things would be, some people kind of spend time working on technique. Some people kind of spend time working on improving the work capacity so they can actually do more work later on that they need to make progress. Like the biggest thing that pops out to me is there is no prescription of days. It's just day 1, day 2, day 3, which maybe in an off season is not as important because strength expression is not the biggest thing, but that is like one thing that pops out to me. Like I would want to know the exposure timing, how much rest are we taking between days. Maybe for him, it's those days are structured. Maybe like day 1 is Monday and so on and so forth. But if we don't know, if they're random, that's a problem. But we'll assume he does them on specific days. So starting from here, we can look at day 1. Day 1, there is some variations. He's doing squat, deadlift, and some lower body hypertrophy work.
Like Anas said, it's all about bottlenecks. So it's like, what is my bottleneck? If I am trying to cover, the way I see it, whenever I look at this, he's trying to kind of go over every single aspect or as many aspects as he can, just kind of in a singular day. Like he's trying to work on like he's not extremely hyper focused in as much on really any particular thing, whether it be work capacity on competition lifts, hypertrophy. You know, at the end, he's actually trying to cover many things in one day. So you want to talk about taking a broad stroke over something. Say, you know, you're not quite sure where your bottleneck is, or you just kind of want to make sure that like every base is covered. Like this is kind of what I see in this is we're covering as many bases as we can. We're pausing at the bottom on both competition lifts just to make sure that our stability at the bottom is good. We're covering the most general aspects of things. So when I see this, I see something as like there isn't a for sure idea of where the bottleneck is. It's just kind of like, well, we're gonna cover everything. Throw, you know, 5 out of 5 darts at the board and make sure that at least a certain amount of them land where they are.
This program can be like very effective, and it's dependent on the person, but does any red flags pop up that can make this program not effective? Anything that you see here from day one? My opinion, it seems like you can get like a technique, like a skill improvement. It's possible, and it's possible to get hypertrophy increase too. So I would say like those two qualities are met. Maybe like the amount of volume, but it is only week 1. The amount of volume maybe can be like a little bit more. We're only doing 2 sets on each, but we're hitting a few movements. So I would say like the volume, if it doesn't increase, that could be a bottleneck for hypertrophy, like a limiter for hypertrophy.
Which is what happens whenever you take a broad stroke over something. You are basically trying to generally get certain aspects of things, but you're trying not too hard to lean into too much, right? So same thing, say my bottleneck was hypertrophy. What I would do is I would sacrifice some volume up at the top for more at the bottom. Same thing, a building phase doesn't always have to be accessories. Maybe I need to get better at working the competition lift. I would do more competition lifts, and then same thing, my accessories might look like they're lacking a little bit, but my bottleneck might be in just getting better at the lift itself. So if I'm trying to get better at the lift itself, I need to do more of the lift. So you can kind of tell that there's a distribution where it's like, I don't really know where my bottleneck is, but
it's like an equal distribution.
Yeah,
and there is an emphasis. So if you're trying to work on one specific thing, you would want to use the volume allocation to emphasize a specific quality or a specific thing. Where with this, it seems like it's going to spread across all the qualities, and there isn't a lot of focus on one thing. So the hypertrophy might not be addressed as well. I'm going to actually only do 1 top set of squats and allocate the rest of my volume towards hypertrophy. Then, you know, if we look at it, it's like, okay, this is an off season aimed at improving hypertrophy.
The exercise selection is pretty general. I guess maybe the upside to it is maybe a lot of these exercises he's never done before, and maybe if they're brand new, he'll probably get a stimulus from it just being brand new. But again, it's pretty general. Like it's lacking in any of the spectrums of like where if you were to lean into something, like say in a weakness aspect, okay, I'm really not good at this, really good at this, we're gonna focus on what I'm not good at. This looks like, again, another very broad stroke.
Yeah.
Like these are very broad exercises, like they're very general. They will for sure work if they're brand new. I think, you know, novelty is a great thing. So maybe if you've been in competition prep, like where it's like extremely skilled and extremely, you know, like there's not too much focus on the accessories, this could be a brand new thing to kind of get that going. But it's not really addressing a specific bottleneck. It looks like we're just addressing everything all at once.
Yeah, very general. But yeah, I think this is all for this one. I think we can move on to the next one, right?
Yep.
Cool.
All right, we got Richky from New Zealand. We've got us a 6-week block This looks like more of a competition-focused type of block. Still working on some aspects, although maybe not entirely or really focused on hypertrophy. He's focused on really raising his 1 rep max on all of his lifts.
So this would be like your typical like wave loading and like strength expression, trying to hit like a triple, double, single PR. So this is obviously completely different than the other one. The other one was on the other end of the spectrum, off season. This is more of like a real training. No, not real training, just like trying to express strength, like your usual like wave loading type structures you would see most commonly now. So we see here, like David mentioned, a 6-week program. I think the final week, I think he resets, but I think it's like 5 weeks, and we have 4 days of training. Like as far as like context about the lifter, we're not really sure which weight class he's in. Did he say which weight class?
He didn't say, but I mean, I could assume he was, in the 83 or. I mean, if he's in a 93 class, he's probably really tall. But
he looked fairly tall.
He looked fairly tall, though.
Fairly lanky. I wouldn't say like super filled out and like in a stubby person. Like it's more like a lanky, taller. So if we look at it from that perspective, if you were to design a program for someone like him, would you put emphasis on specific things just from, I guess, like looking at how he's built?
I mean, I'd put some emphasis on eating, which, I mean, it's probably the easiest thing to probably do. But one thing I will say when I look at this program is it's very low in volume, and if I know myself, because I'm also one of these lanky style lifters, when the volume is really low, it's really hard to eat. So like, I'm not super surprised that, that that I'm seeing what I'm seeing. But when I look at this program, I see, there's less than 15 reps on a competition lift. And then even then after that, the accessories are also really low. Like there's not a whole lot of
work.
Yeah, not a whole lot of work in general. So although like eating might be something that if I just look at, his lifts right away, I'm like, okay, guy needs to eat. Like when I look at the program kind of reflects a little bit more to me kind of what needs to happen, because I could see, this lifter actually eating more if he was doing more than 10 reps in a given day on the competition lifts. So.
And I think, like overall more work, it doesn't necessarily have to be like forcing more volume on the competition lifts, but if we're not doing enough on the comp lifts, just because like the leverages maybe don't allow it, and like the fatigue cost, like the stimulus to fatigue ratio is not really like productive. Maybe you get too much fatigue for the amount of stimulus you get. I've seen that with my taller lifters. I usually try to limit the amount of, like, I don't give them 7s or 8s on squats, or like let's say for squats, because like the lanky people for deadlift, it can be a different story. But for squats, let's say if they have like a longer range of motion to cover, and like we know, just because of the leverages, there's limitations of how efficient they can get. You can only get so efficient. Even if you have like a super squatty squat as a taller lifter, there's still a lot of distance to cover. So I can see why the amount of like low bar or competition squatting needs to be limited. But I would think we have to supplement it somewhere else. I would say if the legs are not getting enough stimulus because of the limitations or the constraints we're dealing with from like a leverages standpoint, or even like eating if we're not recovering enough, we have to get that work or get that stimulus from something else.
Something has to increase somewhere, right? So, and I think we talked about this on a podcast a few weeks ago, where it's like if you don't have enough stimulus somewhere in your training, then it can seem like an uphill battle that is impossible, because you can't make more from not making more. Like there's no more to get. So you have to either train more, you have to eat more, you have to do something more to create a stimulus. Like if there is no stimulus, then it's not going to just randomly happen. Yeah. And that's why whenever I mention like how much actual competition lifting there is, like same thing. I'm seeing a single and then I'm seeing like a 4x2. And it's like,
It's 9 reps.
we're talking 9 reps, and you can see the actual effort here. The actual effort is like a 6, which same thing. Like it's like 165, out of, I think his comp squat was 212. It's like, is that really actually a 5.5? Is it that difficult? Or maybe it's that difficult because we don't have enough stimulus driving in the background. Therefore, it feels like a 5.5 because there's not enough of anything in the background making things easier and driving momentum.
He did mention some context here, like it was done on like in a commercial gym with like an Olympic bar and like a wooden platform. But the point still stands that, okay, like we're only doing this much work and we're starting at 165 out of 212. What is that? Like less than 80%, I'm assuming. That's close to, I don't know what it is exactly, but it's a very low percentage, and you're only doing 8-9 reps, and like the rest of the work should be aimed at filling in some of that like volume, like the stimulus we're not getting out of the squats. And again, like it could be due to different reasons. We're assuming that the leverages play a big factor here, which we're not debating that. We're not saying like you have to do more on the competition movement, but we're saying like overall, maybe like the legs in general need a bit more work. And looking at we have like 2 squat days here and 2 deadlift days, I believe, and like we're benching, how many times are we benching? 3 bench days, right?
Yep.
Okay, so we have a 2-3-2 frequency, and like the amount of work is like very limited. We have hack squats on day 3. We're only doing 1 set, and we have some like other accessories at the like aimed at improving I guess like legs or like quad hypertrophy and maybe like strength. Some of these can be used for strength, but we're not really getting that much strength stimulus. We're not even getting any hypertrophy stimulus. You're doing Bulgarian split squats. Like how hard can you actually push those? We're only also doing 1 hack squat set. I didn't even see increase from week to week. It stayed at 1 set. We can use up our recovery resources a little bit better, even if the competition movements are very taxing. You would look at something else that has a better stimulus to fatigue ratio and use up the rest of your recovery resources there, instead of being, okay, I'm gonna focus on my single, a few back down sets, then the rest of the work isn't really done to supplement any other qualities we're trying to work on. I think for this person, when I see someone who's not leveraged well for the competition movements, I focus a lot more on quote unquote accessories. I don't think they're accessories at that point. I think they are like the major driver of progress. And for this person, if technique is not a limiter, and like the biggest limiter is like how much work, I guess work capacity from the perspective of work capacity to the competition lifts, we can either try to improve work capacity on the competition lifts, or we can work on improving it through the supplemental work, or focusing more of our resources there instead of trying to hammer more specific work. I think I would use the comp lifts just to get that skill exposure, get that high intensity exposure as well, like touching something heavy to keep the force production high. But then I would go run to the hack squat and do like 3 to 4 sets, maybe do it a couple times a week. And again, similar thing, I think exercise selection can be improved, and also like the volume allocation can be improved to work on the limiter here, which I think for him is probably all of them. He's not hitting anything super high, so he probably has recovery resources left.
He for sure has recovery resources left, like you can definitely tell.
Mm-hmm. But he probably thinks he doesn't, because after the squatting, he's like, I'm smoked. I did like 4 sets, 4 doubles, or 5 sets of squatting, which honestly, I would take away some of these sets and put them somewhere else. So I'm actually getting more bang for my buck and like more stimulus from these sessions, instead of trying to focus so much on the comp movement, where it's probably like an awful, because like for him, the low bar squat is an awful movement to get hypertrophy. It's an awful movement, even for strength, because like how much volume can he actually accumulate? And it's only there for, you can argue, skill practice, but the rest of the qualities, like it doesn't really hit him that well. So you need to find other options that will kind of do that for you.
Yeah, you got to lean into something, like we said, either give yourself a little bit more chances with the squat volume or give yourself better chances in a hypertrophy sense.
What would you change? I guess looking at this, his bench is at 130. Let's say like his bench is kind of struggling. He does have like a longer range of motion. Deadlift, like, is fairly lanky. I think the deadlift is actually he's leveraged really, really well for. He can probably tolerate more work there. But any major changes you would make to this program?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily lean into more squat volume. I'd probably lean a little bit more into like strengthening the legs. I noticed at his competition he was just caving over like his back, and his legs weren't holding steady, and that's something that, of course, like takeaway wise, that I would probably want to improve on. It didn't seem like that much of a skill thing. It seemed more like his legs weren't staying underneath him.
Like an actual strength
issue.
Yeah,
an actual strength issue. So it's more like, okay, I need to run to the hack squat. I need to run to, the areas that, I need to work on. And I mean, obviously, I have a bias for a little bit more volume. I'd probably poke that a little bit more, but
you said
that's not necessarily.
You said you have a bias towards more volume, but you also said like it's not towards the low bar squat.
Yes. Yes.
Just overall more work, but allocated a little bit differently.
Yeah, exactly. We look at towards the end of the block, he ends up hitting
205.
Yeah.
Squat.
He hit 205, but the thing is, like, he actually went 205 for a single, but then he hits like this work capacity kind of PR, which is like he goes like 210, 200. So he actually hit 210 for like 3, 200 for 2 sets of 3, and 195 for a set of 3, all at like RP 8 plus. Which, so it did come out, I would say, successful.
But do you think that the fatigue cost of all of this is worth the return?
But it's not. Yeah, exactly. It's like once you really get the expression from that first one, it's like, okay, there's still work that can be done after that you don't have to do, because that's what kind of happens whenever you get these 4 sets of 2 or these like large set counts. Is sets make you much more tired, much more quicker. Even though if it's 2 reps, 3 reps, it doesn't really matter how many reps it is. The more sets you get, it just amplifies, the tiredness. Or as he says, fried. He says, I'm fried.
Yeah.
It's always back is so fried. It's just fried.
Yeah.
So leaning a little bit more into the aspects. The program went well. That's what it looks like. He did walk away with some work capacity PRs. He did walk away with a bit more on his deadlift, I'm pretty sure, as well. He came out, I think 3s with like 235-ish. So he is on an upward trend. It's just more kind of what is going to happen next. Can I still hit 4 doubles and expect to get, more out of it?
Yeah, because like if we look at like the final week, okay, we hit the single. The single was like more of like a primer, or just kind of like a warm up, I would say, because like you're hitting 210 for a set of 3. So the 205 is like the last warm up. I wouldn't even call it a set. I would just call it a warm up. But we're looking at 4 sets of 3 here, and we're doing all of them in this range of like 195 to 210. Once you hit that 210 and you got the expression out of the way, what's the point of the rest of the work? Is it going to prepare you for next week? Is it improving? What is it improving? What's the rest of the work doing? Is it expressing further? Or is it
maybe some mental resilience, maybe some low back?
Yeah.
We get some low back?
Exactly, yeah. Because that's what he said. Like he's saying like he's feeling overly fatigued, which I think, okay, well, like why are we doing the rest of the work? Because everything we do in training is trying to prepare us for the following session, or like the following period. And for this, we hit that top set, and we did a few sets afterwards, what is the rest of the work actually preparing us for? Is it preparing us for the following session or the following week or the competition? And is it, if it is preparing us for competition, does it actually meet the competition demands? We're only doing singles. Like, do we need the work capacity on the competition squat to be able to do 4 heavy triples? I don't think that translates that well. I think the fatigue cost we're getting out of it, I would rather allocate it somewhere else. Like, I would just do 1 top set and be like, okay, I'm gonna go hit a hack squat PR or like a pendulum squat PR. Try to get like a little bit more, whether it's like a volume PR or like a load PR, whatever it is. Like, I would try to use those recovery resources somewhere else that can actually prepare me for the following block or like the following session. But I think the rest of the work here doesn't really do that, and it's just extra fatigue for no reason. Like, I would just kind of take that out and go use that somewhere else. And I think we see it and also like we have like the rest of the week also to go. I'm also trying to see what I have left in the week, and I don't want to just ruin the rest of my week just so I can hit like a work capacity
PR. Yeah.
So I think like the allocation here is also, it's like a similar idea as like the last program. Like, volume allocation can be distributed a little bit differently, and also like we don't really know which days he's doing what. We see like day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. I'm assuming he's doing them on the same days, and we're gonna assume that exposure timing is not an issue.
Yeah, everything has a cost. I mean, like, if you're doing this, you get a work capacity PR out of it, but like as a result of this week, you're definitely gonna have to take, it down, which that's what happened kind of in that week 6, where you had to take, this deload-ish type of situation, right? So we're back to 1 by 1 at 175, 182. So you have to take a big deload because of how much you did before, when you might have been able to roll into the next or start a little bit higher, do whatnot. So nothing wrong with work capacity PRs. It's just more being efficient with what you're actually doing, because if you're hitting these work capacity PRs, like, they all have to transfer somewhere, right? And that's why sometimes, like, what will happen is you'll see people hit a bunch of, they're what I call like pointless PRs. I mean, I guess every PR can have a point, but like, imagine walking in and just being like, I hit a work capacity PR, but then it doesn't even land in anything later. That's why you'll see some lifters hit multiple sets or multiple, like, kind of like, say a rep range that doesn't apply super well to your 1 rep max or to something further in the future. They'll hit something and they're super happy about it, but then it doesn't carry over later. It's like kind of a short term, like, I did something good
because
type of feeling.
I think for him, like, the work capacity is not even an issue, because he came back and like was fine. So like, you're working on something that's not even a bottleneck.
Exactly.
You're trying to improve a quality that it won't really have, like you said, like, it won't really show any results in the future, because there's probably a bigger bottleneck somewhere else, which I would say the muscle mass, like, there's not a lot of focus there. I think working on the work capacity is taking away from that, and the work capacity is not even a limiter, so why even put most of your eggs there? Why put most of your resources there? The final thing is, I think for bench, if bench is not like a well-leveraged lift for him as well, similar idea. We have Larson press here for sets of 8. Okay, what's the point? I would go do machine press. I don't even see that much like supplemental work for the pecs, or like for anything that will help the bench. I would say a similar idea. The exercise selection there can be improved. The amount of volume you're doing for the chest, because like for someone who has like super long range of motion on bench, I think the biggest thing that can help them is just a bigger chest. And if the technique can't get more efficient, like, yes, technique is like a quick way to get more results, but at some point you're going to get as efficient as you can, and the muscle mass is going to be the biggest thing that's going to hold you back, which again, like, we would want to put more emphasis on that. And I don't see any work targeted. We have like some tricep work. I don't see any machine presses or like high volume there. And like we see, like, the frequency is also fairly low. So the bench is not gonna, like, it's not getting that much work, and it does need a lot more, which I think you can take out some of these exercises, replace them with some like heavy machine presses, whether it's like an incline or like a flat press, and like get more out of your time instead of doing Larson for sets of 8, which is going to be limited. Like you can't, how heavy can you push this?
Yeah, it's not going to be, you can't go anywhere with that past a point. But I mean, you know, I saw his competition lift. Efficiency-wise, definitely needs to be improved. But like Anas said, the muscle mass is going to be the largest factor. Like you can get your arch up, you can get all this stuff going for you, and at the end of the day, if your chest isn't bigger, then you're going to get stuck just at a higher point. And that's kind of what happens to a lot of lifters. They're going to max out their technique, and then the muscle mass still ends up getting you. So you might as well work on both at the same time. I'd probably work on trying to get my elbows a little bit closer to that 90-degree area so that you're not really taxing your shoulders. I have seen a numerous amount of lifters where when their elbow is dropping significantly below 90 degrees, it does make it really hard on those rotator cuffs, things like that. But like, so maybe improving that to a point that's a bit better, which is a little bit closer to 90, that will help a lot with your leverage and also just injury prevention, really, when you're going all the way down there.
Yeah.
But besides that, like, we're not saying get a massive arch. We're not saying, you know, just really out technique it or really go 4 days a week benching and just overhaul something to get a stimulus. We definitely need to work on our chest. You got to work on your upper body more than anything. And then maybe that frequency might play, you know, later down the line. But with a 130 bench and a clear muscle mass bottleneck, it's not necessary to really have to bench 4 days a week or more. It's necessary to work on your technique, but also just to build your back and your chest more than anything. So
yeah, I think that's it for this one. Check out our podcast about the rep profiles if you're not sure how to improve these qualities. It has a lot of good points about how to actually improve hypertrophy, which can be like a good thing to work on. Okay.